Hello, hello. How is everyone this morning? It's a beautiful day today in Baltimore, I have to say. Um, yeah, absolutely gorgeous day. I hope everyone is well and enjoying the good weather. It's about, maybe 60 degrees here this morning, and sun is shining, and I am in beautiful downtown Baltimore, specifically the Federal Hill neighborhood. Federal Hill is one of Baltimore's most desirable areas. It is old, it is well kept, it is well located, has all the amenities, and basically is inhabited by people with young families. I would say young professionals, perhaps. Okay, in this area, you see a lot of women pushing baby strollers and such around the community. So behind me is part of Federal Hill, that tall building that you see there. Those are condominiums, part of the Harbor View complex. So it's 10:30, time to rock. Welcome to Federal Hill Now and Then. I am Sharon Schultz, also known as the Bay Lady, for my virtual tours, which take place around the Chesapeake Bay region of Maryland. Today we're in Baltimore. Our harbor is off the Patapsco River, which is off the Chesapeake Bay, which is off the Atlantic Ocean. So lots of water around here. Behind me, you'll see a museum that we'll take a closer look at later, and also the skyline downtown Baltimore. But anyway, just another thing to mention, to keep up with my tours or see when they're scheduled and such, you might want to follow me on Facebook, the Bay Lady, Sharon Schultz, the Bay Lady, or on my YouTube channel, Sharon Schultz, the Bay Lady. And that's where I post my tour links directly to them, like to this one, and also several platforms with links that display or advertised or my tours. Several of them have calendars, and my tours appear on those. So I have the links to that as well. Also, there is a link to a platform called Buy Me a Coffee, and that's where I'm able to receive support from my followers who enjoy my tours. So, anyway, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is turn the camera around so you can see what I see. You have to give me a minute here, because I have a surprise hooked at the end of this camera. Hold on. There it is. Okay. Yay. There you go. You're looking at Federal Hill, some houses, typical houses here. But also, let me back up some. Also, meet Rosie. Hey, Rose, what you got going on there? Rosie. Rosie is my little Pomeranian rescue dog. She is such a gem. She is really sweet little girl. So she's going to be strolling about with us. So let me turn this around. So there's the tall condominium building that we were looking at, and those shorter buildings in front of it, as well as that brown building over to the right. That's all part of Federal Hill. Okay. Very premier housing, very expensive housing, of course. Looking across the water there, you're looking at Harbor Point, a group of tall buildings there with Constellation Energy. That's Harbor Point. A little closer over there, that's Harbor East with the Marriott and Four Seasons. And then down below here, we have several things. We're looking into the Inner Harbor in downtown Baltimore now. And you're looking at the American Visionary Arts Museum, the aquarium, the power plant, all sorts of iconic Baltimore scenes. But first, let's continue our walk this way to Federal Hill. Let me get my little baby over here. Rosie, this way, girl. Come on. Here we go. Come on. Come on, Rose. Take a look at some of these houses, okay? Now, I will tell you that right here, you are looking at houses that will list for over $1 million easily because of the location, because of the view, right? Very, very expensive homes. And I mean, with a view like that, wow, right? Even across the street, that nice brick house, you'll see it on the other side. That row of houses actually faces Federal Hill Park. Notice the garages. These are attached garages. This is a real premium thing in Baltimore. And also notice the rooftop decks. Anything within view of the Inner Harbor is game for a rooftop deck. Talk about adding real estate. My word, big time real estate. These buildings here, I want to call your attention to the marble steps. That is a Baltimore thing. Okay, marble steps and the transom windows above the doors. Once upon a time, the transom windows had stained glass with the marble steps, and designed in the stained glass, like this one isn't an original, but with, oh, here we go. The house number. The house number is designed within the stained glass transom window. Now, some homes will have a wider window here instead of just one, okay? And they may have a piece of stained glass, matching stained glass above that window as well. So it was very much a Baltimore thing, especially with the marble steps. Now, here comes some other homes. These have been, totally renovated. Look at this. I mean, these are beautiful places. And I mean, right here in the city, what convenience, right? And as I said, these are $1 million homes. Look at those gorgeous decks. They're covered. Whoa. Absolutely phenomenal. This is, as I said, a very sought after community to live in, to work in, and to play in too, no doubt. How nice. How elegant, right? The thing that I love about row homes in Baltimore is that they're all different. They're not really, cookie cutter models. They tend to be different and distinct. Check out these garages and the rooftop decks. Very quiet neighborhood, as you can see. At night, very pretty. They've got cafe lights strung from the houses to the trees. Many of these well-kept blocks do that. Here's a huge home right here, the corner house here. It's not a one-family place. It's home to several families, I believe. Nice little fenced yard here. Yep, where you going, Rose? There's a dog that lives here, so I'm sure she's caught whiff of him or her. Come on, Rose. Now, this little street here, we are approaching Federal Hill Park. Federal Hill Park, oh my goodness, what a historic place. It has seen more than I can tell you. This tour I've called Federal Park Now and Then, because the now is where we are, where the city is at this point. The then is how we got here. Oh, she's barking at the dogs across the street. Hello. Gentlemen walking their dogs. Let's see. Oh, he's got two, and then there's a third. No, 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 no. Come here, Mel. Rosie. Rose. Let me reel you in here, little one. Come back here. We're not crossing that way. Okay, so here we are crossing. Let me adjust my camera. Here we are crossing the street very carefully. Run, Rose, run. Come on, Rose. Come on, little stinker. So, welcome to Federal Hill Park. Now, this place, let me tell you, has the views, right? Became, hey, hey, stop. Let me reel her in a little bit more here. Hold on one second. All right, that's better. Okay, so as I was saying before, Rose, my dog, that's her name, Rosie, interrupted me. So, up until 1880, it was a lot of different things. But in 1880, the city gave it over and made it a park for the community. Federal Hill was, oh, let's wait for them to pass. Federal Hill was originally discovered by Captain John Smith. Hey, come here, attack dog, right? Come here, you. All right, come here. Okay, so anyway, Federal Hill, here's the history. Since the founding of Baltimore in 1729, this hill has been a popular point for viewing the city's growth. Here, 4,000 people feasted in 1788 to celebrate the ratification by Maryland of the federal Constitution, and in honor of the new government, gave the place its name. An observatory built here in 1795 signaled city merchants of the approach of their vessels, a service which lasted a century. Shipyards have long been located near the hill, and it's been mined for clay and sand. During the Civil War, Union troops fortified this site. It was made a public park in 1880. Rosie, you gotta not be so noisy. Rosie's, she's a typical Pomeranian. From what I understand, one of the drawbacks of this breed is their tendency to bark a lot. And it's funny because she'll bark at other dogs in particular. And it doesn't matter what size they are. She ran off a German Shepherd the other day. And it's really sweet because she's all now for no action, really. She wouldn't hurt a fly, but she barks. So now we're still looking where we were earlier. This is looking at Harbor East and downtown Baltimore. Okay, the Inner Harbor. There are the houses and the street that we just looked at. This is the front of the houses that we saw the backs of with the garages and their lovely rooftop decks. This is a beautiful park too. It's sitting up here on the hill. The views are like to die for. These are the money shots. Come on, Rose, this way, darling. You can see the harbor out there. Beautiful day today. Rose, what are you trying to go? I want to go this way, precious. Yes, I do. Give you a little more leeway here. Hold on. Just a little. Not that much. Okay. I will tell you, folks. Rosie. Hey. All right. There we go. Is that locked? No. For some reason, I'm having oh, there we go. All right. Now lock. Lock and loaded. All right. This is the first time I have attempted this. Taking Rosie here. Oops, hold on. My yeah, my camera did a weird thing. All right, hang on 1 second. All right, let's see. Is it still weird? No, it's good. Okay. All right, so hold on. Okay. Now it's back the way it should be. All right. So this is the first time I've taken the lovely Rose with me here. So I don't know why she wants to go back there. She needs to catch a scent going over here. Here is it. Here, here is a better view of the museum that I mentioned, the American Visionary Arts Museum. It's all three of those brick buildings there at the bottom of the hill, all three of them. The one all the way to the left is the main part of the museum. Lots of color, lots of bling, lots of shiny, shiny things. The museum features artwork by untrained artists, okay? Artists who came about their skill naturally. And it has a folk artish kind of theme to it as well. This middle building and the last building are more art displays. There are some installations outside as well. There's a garden behind the brick wall between the brick wall and the middle building. On the end building here on the right, you see the golden hand in the center. Underneath it, covered over, is a movie screen. And during the summer, people come and spread their blankets here on the hill, and the American Visionary Art Museum will play family movies. So it's kind of a nice thing to attend. Rosie. Oh, she probably wants to get back to the car. I bet she does. Look at this. Crazy dog. Come on, baby girl. All right, so looking up ahead here, that white kind of canvas, kind of tentish thing that you see there, that would be a venue for different events, conferences, things like that. Also, the power plant is over there. You can tell it from the tall stacks. Hang on 1 second. Let's do this little one. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right. So, Rusty Scupper is right down here at the bottom of the hill. It's got the American flag flying there. Excellent seafood restaurant. Across the harbor from the Rusty Scupper, you see another restaurant that is McCormick's. It looks like a lighthouse. McCormick's is a spice factory that is exclusive to Baltimore, ships spices all over the world. All over. That brick multi-level building that you see right above the McCormick's restaurant. That marks Little Italy. That is the beginning of Little Italy. Italian food like you wouldn't believe. Authentic, really good stuff. Okay, now you're looking down at Harbor View, housing community right there across from the Visionary Arts Museum. And this is the back of the Visionary Arts Museum, by the way. Looks like they're installing that American flag, too. The front of it is even more spectacular, as you might imagine. We have some battle monuments here in this park, as well as some cannons that are leftovers from a different age. This park, this hill, actually has witnessed the War of 1812, the battle at Fort McHenry. Fort McHenry is out that way. It's past the Domino Sugar Factory. Okay, out that way. Let's see. Looking down here, this is the Inner Harbor. And what a view, right? Now, it looks like it's under construction, and actually that's because it is. Not sure what they're making, a garden type park of some type. They used to be well, they called it Baltimore Beach. It was a volleyball court down there, and there used to be teams from the rec department and the Waterfront Partnership Association, and they would have volleyball games and such on the weekend. It was very popular, very active, for sure. Okay, Rose, sit on my lap. There we are. Sit down here for a second, sitting on a bench here in the shade under these big old trees, right? Can you imagine what these big old trees are, right? You're looking ahead now. This is the fabulous Inner Harbor. Let's see. Down below us in the corner to the left is a visitors type center there. They have different activities in that area. You can't see it, but behind the trees is a skate park and a playground and some other things for children's activities. The red brick building there with the white in front, that is the Maryland Science Center. It's been there since the 1980s. It originally was the home, an old Victorian house, the home of a bug collector. People would bring him insects to identify, and it really grew from there. As a matter of fact, today they are very well known for their dinosaur collection. They have a massive dinosaur collection, massive in the collectibles as well as the display. Okay, you see some boats down there. The ones in front of us here, that's a private marina, or not private, I should say, a public marina where you can rent a slip for your boat, okay? Then across the way to the left, up against the edge there, you see some larger boats. Those are the cruise ships that do local trips here around the harbor. They'll take sightseeing trips out to Fort McHenry, out to the bridge that we don't have anymore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So you have all that. Now, the green pavilions that you see down there, again, towards the left, there's two of them. That's Harbor Place. That was established in 1980 as a tourist destination, and it did quite well up until the COVID years. the thing that brought them so much success at Harbor Place was the thing that put them out of business, and that was the fact that they were individual entrepreneurs, local artists from Baltimore that had various shops. The attraction for Harbor Place, besides the aquarium and the science center and the hotels, were that the shops were unique. Here you could buy things that you couldn't buy anywhere else. You could definitely shop Baltimore. So when COVID came along, unfortunately, that's what led to their demise. Unfortunately, being independent shop owners, they didn't have backing like Walmart or other chain things. So eventually, they were forced to close their shops, and in a domino kind of way, the shops closed. So that meant that rent wasn't being collected by the management company, and so they began to struggle. And now there's maybe a handful of shops open. All the restaurants are gone, and there were some nice ones. And now the city owns the property. So the city is going to reimagine it. It's going to take down those pavilions and build something more spectacular that will include, the area will include not only shops, but also workspaces and living spaces as well. Seems the new concept here and everywhere, I would imagine, is the zoning rules and things of that nature that need to be changed to conform. So straight ahead towards the left is you see the green pavilion. In front of that one is an old ship. That is the USS Constellation, built in the 1850s. It was the last warship to be built without any navigational equipment. It was prominent during the Civil War. It used to run down slave ships, intercept them. Now it just like these months, received new masks. They stripped the ship completely of its masts, of its sailing masks, all of it. There was nothing on sticking up from the top. It was just the deck. And now they've replaced them. The new masks are in. However, not the new sails yet. So that should be interesting to see how they hang the sails back on the masks, right? Yeah. Anyway, okay, so almost straight ahead there, that tall tower. You see two tall towers, right? Well, the one straight ahead is five-sided. The one to the left is not. So, because the one straight ahead is five-sided, it qualifies it to be the tallest five-sided tower in the world. Unless, of course, Dubai has one. Who knows with them, the rate they build, right? Anyway, the tallest five-sided tower in the world, that is Baltimore's World Trade Center. Okay, up on the not the top floor, but like two down is the observation deck. That is incredible. You can see all of Baltimore City, a total 360. And there's placards and things up there along the windows that help you identify exactly what it is that you are looking at. So it's really a sight to see. Next to that, to the right, next to it on the right, you see a building with a glass pyramid on top. And then attached to it is a covered walkway that goes to a similar building with a glass pyramid on top. That is the National Aquarium. It occupies two piers, and the original building is the one to the left. The aquarium was so successful that they added the second building and made a connecting covered walkway to make access easy for the guests. Let's see. You see four smokestacks. That is the power plant. That was built in 1900 and it survived the 1904 fire that burned the area that you're looking at to the ground. All the most of the buildings that you're looking at were constructed after 1904. There are some downtown buildings that managed to escape the blaze, but not many. The power plant, however, was one, and its saving grace, if you'll notice, I said the aquariums were on two different piers. The water stopped the fire from getting to the power plant. Once upon a time, that power plant provided electricity to the streetcars that ran up and down the main thoroughfares of the city. And there you have, that is Harbor East, the tall buildings I'm showing you there. You can see in the center a red lighthouse. That was an actual working lighthouse out in Chesapeake Bay. It, was a marker for ships for decades and decades. And then it was moved here and is now operated as a museum. So that is a nice thing for everyone. We have, the Constellation, the war frigate over there, that plus the lighthouse. And there's also a submarine and a light ship and a Coast Guard cutter. And all of them are permanently stationed here in Baltimore, and they're all being used as museums as well as part of the Living Classroom program. You can see a water taxi there taking off. Many times I'll start here and I will start here and down there and walk my way right around the harbor. It's a lovely walk. Walk my way around the harbor over to where the lighthouse is. And behind the lighthouse is the pier for the water taxi. So I will times walk around and then hop the taxi back. The station for the water taxi is right there at the Rusty Scupper, right in front of it. So, water taxi, those aren't its only stops. It goes to Fells Point and it also goes out to Fort McHenry. So it's a very convenient piece of transportation. Okay, you can see if you look by the lighthouse, you can see the water taxi. It's about to pass behind it. It's heading for the taxi dock over there. I'm surprised there aren't many other ships out, but I guess maybe because it's Monday. There's not any pleasure craft moving around, nor are the sightseeing boats moving around. So interesting. I'll be glad when this downhill here part is finished. I want to see what it's going to be, right? So I was mentioning history. This hill that we are sitting on top of was once upon a time a big, humongous mound of clay. You've heard of the explorer Captain John Smith, right? He's the one with Pocahontas, his partner there. So Captain John Smith, he was an explorer. And after he founded Jamestown in Virginia, which was the first permanent English settlement here, he was exploring and he was riding up the coast in the Atlantic Ocean, coming up the coast, and he stumbled upon the Chesapeake Bay. So he decided to follow it, and he did. And it led him to the Patapsco River. And the Patapsco River ended in a natural harbor guarded by a mountain of clay. Right here, Captain John Smith. In fact, for a while, they called it Smith's Hill. But he predicted, and this was in the 1600s, right? He predicted that this natural harbor would one day be a very important seaport. And it was at one time. So after being discovered, eventually it became a seaport, and the townspeople worked hard and had Baltimore incorporated, and they had a big celebration they held up here on the hill. And it was a day of rejoicing and a day of memories. Some of the young men in the city, the sailors, the young sailors, had built a small version of a boat. It was a boat that would sail. Perhaps it wasn't any bigger than some of the little boats that you see in the harbor right there in the marina in front of us, but it was built to look like the Constellation. Okay, it was like a joke. It was going to be installed here on top of the hill as a memorial to, commemorate the incorporation of Baltimore. So the men, before they brought it up the hill here, they kind of drove it through town, pulled it through town, whatever it was that they did to make a ship move on land, they did. Okay, and eventually it did come up here atop the hill, and the day went on, and there were thousands of people that were up here drinking buckets, gallons of ale, right, and having a good old time. And eventually that ship, which was called the Federalist, ended up going down the hill kind of on its own, without any guidance or steerage, and it went crashing down the hill and right into the harbor. Now, keep in mind, all that land wasn't there. The harbor started closer, okay, to the edge of the water. All right. So it was, as I said, a day to remember. Now, the ship remained intact, and when it hit the harbor, it did float. Eventually, it was taken to Mount Vernon in Virginia, where George Washington's plantation, and they had a dock there on the Potomac River, and it sat at the dock for about 8 months until a huge storm came along. Until tack dog. Hey, be nice. A huge storm came along and flattened the Federalist, and it was never more. So interesting, right? Then during the War of 1812, okay, during the Revolutionary War, of course, Baltimore, fought for independence, and this area here was a great lookout point to identify ships coming into the harbor, those that belonged, and of course those that didn't. So that worked out rather well. During the War of 1812, Fort McHenry is off in that direction, and none of those tall buildings were there, obviously. So from here, you could see Fort McHenry, and the citizens of Baltimore gathered on this hill that night, September 12th, 1814, and watched the British blast the heck out of Fort McHenry. The bombardment lasted all night, and people cheered on the federal forces that were fighting back. Um, then let's see what else. Oh, during the Civil War, this was a fort. It was called Fort Federal. And the Union troops were here. Baltimore had some issues at the very beginning of the Civil War. Maryland had been planning on seceding from the Union, as did Virginia and North and South Carolina. They were ready to join the South. Maryland was a very divided state. You had both Union sympathizers and Confederate sympathizers. You had slave owners and non-slave owners, and up till that point had all been coexisting. But that all changed when the South seceded. So, with Virginia part of the Confederacy and Washington right next to that, Maryland on the other side, there was no way President Lincoln was going to let Maryland become part of the Confederacy, because it would literally box DC right in. DC would be surrounded by the Confederate sympathizers and troops. So that couldn't happen. So Lincoln sent his troops, and they came into Baltimore, and Baltimoreans were not happy about it. In fact, there were several riots as the troops maintained order, and so that became here Fort Federal Hill. So something interesting. Let's walk down this way. You ready to walk, my dear? Let me tighten the leashy here. Whoops, not that much. All right, jump down. No? All right, I'll put you down. Say hi, Rosie. You know, she does that when I try to take her picture. How smart do you think animals are? I'll tell you what, this little girl here is quite savvy when it comes to that type of stuff. All right, let's lock and load. Yes, yes. All right. So what I want to show you and tell you, I've got a funny story here about this cannon. We'll get to it in a second. Walk leisurely here. Now you can see the Science Center a bit better. Here's a lovely playground for the kids. It has a Baltimore historic theme. It's got ships and stagecoaches and railroad. The railroad was very, very important here in Baltimore because it was the first railroad in the country, built right here in the city. Okay, so this cannon. Okay, it's like, why is this cannon pointing out towards downtown, right? Why is this cannon pointed out towards the city? Well, there's a reason and a story behind it. During the Civil War, as I said, this was Fort Federal. And the troops would be up here, and the officers at times would invite the citizens of Baltimore to come up here and partake in certain activities at the fort with the troops and such. And the ladies would, of course, come and walk around the top here and all. And there was a general in charge at the time, and he would walk around with the ladies, and he would bring them over here, and invariably they would ask what the cannon was pointing that away for. Now, keep in mind, those tall buildings, the aquarium, they were not there. Okay, houses were there. This is the 1800s. Everything hadn't burned down yet. Okay, so the houses were there right on the other side of the water. And so the general would tell the ladies that the cannon was there to remind their husbands that Maryland was a Union territory. So Lincoln, I think, for the whole Civil War, worried that Maryland would somehow manage to secede from the Union. So you've got some beautiful views of the city here. Absolutely spectacular. Oh, those other tents over there to the right of the Red Lighthouse. That is a music venue, concert venue. Oh my goodness, in the summertime, right? Waterfront concerts. Oh yeah, you come by boat, you dock, you listen, you play. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so we'll continue our walk around the hill here. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Oh my gracious. It's absolutely gorgeous. Wait, Rose. Keep it coming, Rose. Keep it coming, girl. Come on. Come on. Keep it coming. Keep going. Come on. Come on. Now you're looking at the other side of Federal Hill and the other side of the community here. Again, looking at, hey, no, come on. Come on. Come on. Then again, looking at the homes, the rooftop decks, you know, you're looking at historical homes that have been restored with the most modern amenities, and their prices on the market reflect that as well. Looking beyond the homes over the rooftops, you can see M&T Bank Stadium there. That is the Ravens stadium, football. Baltimore loves its football. That is a fact. Okay, let's look at this placard here. Okay, this is about the signal towers that used to be here on Federal Hill. Okay, it has been an observation point for a very long time. That was the thing that Captain Smith had kind of imagined, I guess. So here's a photo. This was the original observatory, built in 1795. And what happened was they would man the observatory, and when a ship would come in, they would send a runner down to the harbor below to let them know that the ship was coming and such and such. And here is another tower. This replaced the original one almost 100 years later. A lot more ornate, isn't it? Very interesting, actually. There's a postcard with it on there from 1911, a 1911 postcard. Isn't that cool? Very cool. So this hill has seen a lot. A lot. Now, where we came into the park was over that way, off a road that is level with the top of the park, but not all the streets are. As you can see, these stone steps are killer. Yes, they are. They leave you winded. And you've got two levels. You see the path down there below. So the top of the park has paths and people with strollers and dog walkers and such. And then you have the lower path for what, bicycles, skateboards, you know, what have you. An uninterrupted path. It circles the entire hill. So now looking at this, oh, look at this. The tunnels under Federal Hill. Whoa, yeah. Okay. I'll bet you there's some good ghost stories under there. It says many storied recollections exist for the legendary tunnels beneath Federal Hill. some documented dating back to the early 19th century and providing a glimpse beneath the surface of the hill that Captain John Smith referred to as a great red bank of clay back in 1608. Woo! Look at this. Approximate location of old tunnels. Wow. 1927 map. Elevator shaft. Whoa. Go figure, right? Oh, look at this. Oh, it looks like a mine, right? Let's see. A tunnel collapse under nearby Clemens Street. That's Clemens Street is down that way where we were walking, actually. Up and there is a tunnel collapse right there in the park. Oh, wow. Well, that is definitely interesting. The entrance to the tunnels was found in the upper chamber of the hill's north side, about 20 feet below the surface. Huh? With evidence of mid-1800 artifacts, but no Civil War material. Interesting. What you doing, Rose? I know she wants back to the car. She always does. She gets thirsty. There's a lot of school not on today or something. Maybe not. I don't think today's a school holiday particularly. Of course, then again, well, no, probably not. Uh, the Ravens Stadium is over the top of those buildings right there. You can't really see it very well, but it's like right next door. No, I'm sorry, not the Ravens Stadium. The baseball stadium, Oriole Park. It is right next door to the football stadium. Convenient, yeah. If you like baseball and football, you can see them both. Oh no, it's turned around again. Why did it do that, pray tell? Why indeed? Beautiful day. Look at that. All the lovely homes, the rooftop decks. You get nice little courtyards. This in front of us was a high school, a school that has now been converted to apartments. Nice ones, I understand. Okay, now just bear with me for a second here. I have to reflip my phone here. There we go. Okay, now come back. There we go. I don't know why it does that. Okay, so let me flip my camera back so you can see my smiling old face here. There I am. All right. So, hold on. Okay, I'm back. Hello. All right. So, I hope you enjoyed the tour of Federal Hill. As I said, it's got quite a history, and even today, it's quite a spectacular place to be. It serves all the people in this neighborhood. Uh-oh, here comes the little dog that my dog's going to go crazy over. You're going to start barking, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, So thank you for joining me and Rosie on this lovely tour. And don't forget, check out my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. And don't forget to buy me a coffee. I love that coffee. All right, take care. Bye.